Okay, is this working? All right, thanks everyone for giving me your time. I'd like to thank two people in particular. One is the MC for waking you all up before I started my session. I promise you it's going to be a little controversial compared to all the topics we've talked about today. And also I'd like to thank the panelists from the session prior to this because they really alluded to what I'm going to be talking about in today's session, right? So I think it's clear that AI is everywhere, right? We've seen it, we've talked about it. Almost everybody talks about strategy. They talk about how it can solve various use cases. We've also seen some people talk about how it, kind of fails at the proof of concept stage, how adoption is a problem. And the conversation for my topic really is, what is the AI execution gap and how do we fix it? How do we start getting organizations to adopt it? How do we start making it work for people? How do we start making people actually deliver outcomes using this new methodology, as I would like to say, right? Are we truly embedding AI into our operations, or is it just a pilot that ends over there? In a utopian world, right, your execution for any strategy doesn't happen in isolation. It requires an orchestrated effort across 3 layers in any organization that you all must have seen. The first one is the role of the leadership, right, the top level, where their job is not just to approve AI investments and incorporate it as a buzzword, but it's also to understand its macro business impact, right? Can AI be used today to reduce operational costs? Can it be used to increase sales? Can it be used to reduce turnaround time for some features, et cetera, et cetera? That's your top level, the CXOs, everyone sitting over here. Your second layer, what you'd ideally want to do in AI execution, is actually get your mid-managers to start identifying areas where AI can deliver the most impact, and also build cross-functional collaboration teams between business, tech, and operations. If you kind of think about AI, it's a very interesting methodology that doesn't just require engineering, but it also strongly focuses on various cross-functional parts of your organizations. And that's a key component that people tend to miss out in the adoption of any AI strategy in their organization. The third part is getting your execution teams to run AI into their daily workflows. As part of Keep Learning, even we run product teams, and even though we have some of the best devs from Bits Pilani and all these places, they've simply not started using it into their production environments till date. So ideally, it's a 3-layered cake that you want to do, right? And AI success will only happen when strategy and execution are aligned at every level of the organization. When what the top CXO says is what the mid-manager does, and what the bottom people actually finally start executing, right? But it seems to be failing in a lot of places. So we have personally worked with a lot of customers, some of them being the biggest Fortune 500 companies, where they have tried to implement use cases of AIs and POCs, and they just end at that. They just end at the use case. This is because there's a lack of leadership alignment. A lot of leaders today delegate AI to the engineering teams without any business buy-in. It's for the sake of the business. I need AI in the system. I tell one of my CTOs, please implement AI, without really thinking about what is the macro impact on my business, or which area or which economic metric of my company will it affect. The second part is no clear execution plan. You would hear a lot of people talk about, we will adopt AI in supply chain, we will adopt AI in maybe some sort of process management, but nobody is really getting into the specifics of how AI in supply chain reduces turnaround time, reduces operational cost. How will it go down from your top level person to your customer success executive? That's still a mystery. The third part, as the panel even below talked about, is AI is a very siloed initiative. It remains a pilot without a lot of scale up into operations. People do a pilot, they simply leave it at that, and they never really push it across the organization. If you were to draw a parallel, there was something similar that happened back a few decades ago in the IT space. When IT systems first came into companies, they were really treated as back office operation items, which only the IT team would use. And today, as you all know, almost every person in a company is some sort of an IT whiz person. Everybody uses it, email, et cetera, et cetera. The fourth and most important aspect that we've seen, which is an unfortunate truth, is just inadequate workforce training. You can release the best models, you can release Perplexity, DeepSeek, deep research, whatever you like, but until you don't know how to prompt engineer, until you don't know how to apply it in your context, put it into your dev pipeline or your sales pipelines, it's really not effective, right? AI can be thought of like a power tool, and most people don't know how to use this power tool. Over the last few months, we have worked with some of the biggest companies, Oracle, Salesforce, Trident, Zscaler, Johnson & Johnson, Patagonia. And we have tried to build what we think is a hypothesis works. We'd like to share this knowledge with everyone, which is called the AI execution playbook, a three-phased approach as to how you can truly drive AI adoption down into your company and build outcomes out of it. The first one is educating leaders. And a lot of people get this wrong, right? The job of a leader is clarity, not complexity. What they need to understand today is, can I use the methodology of AI or a technology in AI to be able to affect some macro business indicator of mine? Can I use it to increase my top line? Can I use it to decrease my customer service time? Can I use it to decrease my operational cost? That is primarily the area at which you'd want top management or CXOs to say. You don't really want them to know how an LLM operates. You most definitely don't want them to get into the solutioning part where they start forcing you to use a certain area of AI that might not necessarily work. The second part is structuring the strategy. And this is a very important piece that we believe people miss out a lot, right? Getting your mid-managers to identify the right AI use cases and getting the teams together. Unlike a typical engineering problem where you tell your CTO or chief AI officer that, hey, listen, we need to build a system, can you start building it? You start from your functional heads. You start from the HR head. You start from the ops head. You start from the sales head. You actually kind of work with them, bring them with engineering, bring them with your various other teams to ensure that you have concrete use cases of where the system can be used. And finally, you go down to training and implementation. A lot of training that happens today, I mean, whether you like it or not, AI is democratized to a point where it's a black box. A lot of people don't really need to know what happens under the hood as much as they need to know how you context set, how you tune it, how you prevent hallucination, et cetera, et cetera. So you go down to the bottom of your workforce where you're really focused on practical and problem-focused statements rather than kind of telling them what is the background of an LLM or what is the background of any sort of deep learning algorithm that you might be using. Where you find success in this is when you take a real business problem and use that to scale learning across the organization. And this is a very, very important piece that we believe people miss out a lot of the time. AI is a methodology, it's not technology. It's practically changed the way we operate life, right? I, as the founder of my company, have an unlimited supply of knowledge and context setting that operates, which costs me $20 a month, that helps me become an expert in everything. And that's very antithetical to the education I had, right? Did my undergrad at Stanford, I'm supposed to know all these things. But thanks to the new methodology of how I'd like to approach my work, I've got super agents that sit across me helping me build go-to-market plans, marketing plans, et cetera, et cetera. So the most important piece is don't treat it like a piece of technology. Treat it like a methodology that actually runs across every function, every area within your organization, right? It's not really a one-time implementation. It's a continuous process of learning, building, and scaling. I can't really quote my customer on this. This is one of our customers. But to prove that the solution works, we actually worked with a very famous traditional elevator company that starts with an S. It's about 100 years old. And one of their big problems, how they implemented AI, was a very interesting use case of actually solving an operational problem. So they really didn't want to use AI per se. They had an operational problem of their lift attendants not being able to fix their elevators fast enough globally because they weren't able to identify parts that go in a lift. And we kind of worked with their top leaders to tell how you can kind of drive this through a technology solution, train their middle managers on how they get operations to talk to engineering, to talk to business, to talk to their field executives who go and make the changes, and then with their engineering team to build a custom LLM for them that actually runs through the parts catalog and figures out which part that needs to go in the elevator. In the interest of not being preachy and also the last 58 seconds that I have, right? My takeaway is AI is less talk, more execution. I think we've spent a lot of time on strategy. We should really be focusing on bringing it down to the people below who are actually going to be implementing it. And the future really belongs to organizations that don't really talk about AI but make it work at scale, right? Strategy is not enough. Execution is the real edge. You need to follow a layered approach where you set a vision on the top that connects to your business objectives, you set a structure in the middle that gets cross-functional teams working, and then you get your capability teams below actually building the competency to deliver on some of those models that you've set out. And finally, it is a methodology. Like Agile took over, like we have Scrum and various other methodologies of engineering that's coming. AI is a methodology that's going to run across your organization. So treat it like one. It's something that needs to be constantly enforced onto people. It's something that needs to be constantly kind of example to people on that this is how you use it, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you so much for your time. Oh, I think I did in exactly 10 minutes. We're outside at the Keep Learning stall. Feel free to come to us, ask any questions. We'd be happy to help you and assist you. Thanks a lot.